On a dusty street, through the pushing and shoving of a bustling crowd, a figure moved, almost like a ghost. She was a woman, her face furrowed not just by age, but by 12 long years of pain. Her deep, tired eyes carried the weight of a nearly extinguished hope. Each step was an effort, a constant reminder of the illness that consumed her from within. A flow of blood that neither time nor doctors could stop. To the society of the time, she was considered impure, an outcast, isolated not only by her physical condition, but by the stigma that accompanied it. Friends moved away, her family looked at her with pity and distance, and participation in community and religious life was denied to her. She was a shadow in her own life, invisible to many, a burden to herself. Her mind, like a whirlwind, always returned to the past. She remembered the first time she visited a doctor. Full of hope, she described her symptoms, her heart pounding, waiting for a diagnosis, a solution. The doctor, with a serious look, prescribed rare herbs and expensive treatments. She paid, with the few coins she had, believing that this would be the end of her suffering. But the days turned into weeks, and the illness persisted. The initial hope gave way to a growing anxiety. Other doctors came, each with a new theory, a new promise. One suggested strict diets that left her even weaker. Another, strong-smelling, bitter-tasting potions that turned her stomach. She sold a small piece of land she had inherited, then her family jewels, piece by piece, down to the last ring. Every coin spent was a piece of her future gone, invested in a cure that never came. Despair began to set in. Another memory, even more painful, haunted her. The scene was in her own home, a place that should have been a refuge, but had become her prison. The walls seemed to close in on her. The sunlight came through the window, but it did not warm her soul. She saw the children playing in the street, heard the neighbors' laughter, and felt a lump in her throat. She was so close to life, and yet, so far away. She remembered trying to help with household chores, but weakness overcame her, leaving her breathless and dizzy in bed. The days were all the same, marked by isolation and constant physical pain. Loneliness was her most faithful companion. No one visited her. Touching someone, receiving a hug, were forgotten luxuries, forbidden by her condition. She was the living dead, breathing, but not truly living. The world kept spinning outside, but hers had stopped 12 years ago. Back in the present, in the confusion of that street, a name began to echo through the crowd. Jesus, a teacher, a healer. People spoke of him with a mixture of admiration and amazement. They said the blind could see, the lame could walk, that he had power over diseases and even over death. A drop of hope, stubborn and fragile, began to sprout in her exhausted heart. Could it be possible? After so many false prophets of medicine, after so much disillusionment, could this man be different? The buzz grew louder. He was there, in the midst of all those people. She had to see him. She had to try. She gathered the little strength she had left. It was not a matter of choice, it was a necessity, the last resort of a soul on the edge. She pushed her way through sweaty bodies, elbows and shoulders, each step a battle. The crowd was dense, a sea of people that prevented her from getting close. She was small, weak. How could she reach the master? The sight of him was almost impossible. She saw only people's backs, heard fragments of his teachings, carried by the wind. Despair threatened to swallow her again. She was so close, yet still so far. Then, an idea, a spark of pure, desperate faith, lit up her mind. If I only touch the hem of his garment, she thought, I will be healed. She didn't need to talk to him. She didn't need to interrupt him. A simple touch. Just a touch. This conviction became her driving force. She crouched down, crawling on the ground, between the legs of the crowd, ignoring the dust, the feet that almost stepped on her. Her eyes were fixed on a single point, the hem of Jesus' tunic, swinging gently with his steps. It was her only target, her only salvation. With her heart pounding in her chest, she stretched out her trembling hand, her fingers extending, struggling to bridge the distance. Finally, the tip of her fingers brushed against the fabric. It was a light touch, almost imperceptible to anyone. But for her, it was like a lightning bolt. In that same instant, a wave of heat ran through her body. A vibrant energy, which she had not felt for more than a decade, flowed through her veins. The chronic pain, the weakness that chained her, simply disappeared. She felt in her body that she was free. The flow of blood, the source of her misery for 12 years, dried up instantly. She stopped, kneeling on the ground, breathless, not from effort, but from pure shock and relief. The tears that came to her eyes were not of sadness, but of an overwhelming joy, a gratitude that could not be put into words. She was healed, completely healed. In the middle of the crowd, Jesus suddenly stopped. He turned, his gaze sweeping over the faces around him. "Who touched my clothes?" he asked. His disciples, confused, answered, "Master, the crowd is pressing and squeezing you, and you ask, 'Who touched me?'" They didn't understand, but Jesus knew. He had felt power go out of him. His gaze met hers. The woman, trembling with fear and reverence, approached and prostrated herself at his feet. With a voice choked with emotion, she told him everything. She told him about the 12 years of suffering, the doctors, the money spent, the loneliness, and the desperate act of faith that had led her to touch him. The crowd fell silent, listening intently to her story. Jesus looked at her, not with disapproval, but with infinite compassion. A gentle smile lit up his face. He did not rebuke her for having touched him in her impurity. On the contrary, he welcomed her. Placing his hand on her shoulder, he lifted her up and said, with a voice full of tenderness and power, "Daughter, your faith has saved you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering." In that moment, the physical healing was sealed with a spiritual healing. She was no longer an outcast, but a daughter. The word peace filled the void that the illness had left. She stood up, no longer as the weak, stooped woman from before, but upright, strong. Her face, once marked by suffering, now radiated an inner light, a joy that transformed her appearance. She was free. Free from pain, free from isolation, free to live again. As Jesus continued on his way, she stood there for a moment, feeling the sun on her face as if for the first time, a symbol of her new life, a living testimony to the power of faith. This story, passed down from generation to generation, reminds us that even in the darkest nights, when all human help fails and hope seems lost, a simple act of faith can change everything. This woman's journey was not easy, but her perseverance and her unwavering belief that a touch could save her opened the doors to a miracle. It is a powerful message that true strength often lies not in our own ability, but in the courage to believe in the impossible. May her story inspire us all to never give up, to seek healing for our pains, whether of the body or the soul, with the same faith that moved that hand 2,000 years ago. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. God bless.